Hi, I'm Kristen, and today I'll be talking about the personal, unprovable experiences of contactees. So I hope this doesn't become too convoluted, but I had a few things happen this week that if I mentioned it to non-experiencers or skeptics, they would say, like, oh, that's just a coincidence. Oh, that doesn't really mean anything. Or do you have any proof that that happened? And like, no, I don't. And it just made my mind kind of start turning about how many things really happen to those of us with contact, that it's meant for us and us only. It's not meant to be shown to somebody else. It's not meant to be proving anything to anybody. It's just messages, synchronicities, um, just perfect things falling into place that are meant for us to understand and realize that there is kind of like a higher power watching over us, or higher intelligences that are working with us. And um, other people probably won't believe it, and that's fine. A lot of these experiences are quite small, but they're meaningful to us. So to just kind of talk about like the first thing that kind of really happened to me this week that only like hit me today, that there was like some kind of a kind of mixed blessing, mixed miracle, like something strange had happened. Um, a couple days before the 4th of July, I had gone to my local grocery store to go shopping so that I could get like just foods for my family to cook on the grill, different fruits. I was going to make a fruit salad and just like lots of little things that I would be buying just for the holiday. And so I got to the store and I found that because there was a heat wave going on at that time, like the entire electrical system got overloaded, and like all of the refrigeration systems for the entire perimeter of the store had gone down. And so when I had gotten inside, there like the meat department was shut down, seafood department, everything in dairy, just like all of the entire walls, even in produce, all of like the salads and everything that were refrigerated, it was all shut down, and nothing was being sold because everything had gotten too warm and it was starting to spoil. And so I'll put some pictures in of kind of like what that looked like, because it was just like so liminal and so crazy looking. And so I thought it was really cool to be there, but I did end up kind of like leaving the store with not too many things, just because I could only shop like the center aisles of like canned goods and foods that are in boxes, just shelf stable foods. And so that was fine. And then on the 4th of July, I realized that the foods that I did have that were refrigerated, like in my fridge, like they were starting to get warm. And I was like noticing, it's like, oh, when I'm opening the door to my freezer and my fridge, like it's not cold enough. And so at that point, I realized like, oh no, like my fridge is dying. And then it did like completely die. Like it had like no kind of coolness coming out of it at all. And so that was horrible. And I was like, of course, this awful thing kind of had to happen like right around, like right on the holiday, and like the height of summer when you'd really want to be getting like ice cream out of your freezer and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, just the out of pocket expense to replace a fridge is like really high. So haven't been happy about that. But it just occurred to me today, so a few days after the 4th of July, that it was kind of a blessing that this is horrible for the store and the manager having to deal with this, but it was kind of a blessing that the power went down at my local grocery store, because I was going to fill up my entire fridge and freezer with like frozen meats and um, again like lots of types of fruit and just like different things that I was going to be baking with for the holiday. And so I would have spent like a lot of money just filling my fridge, and then my fridge would have died a couple days later, and that would have been making me even more angry. And so I guess that was like the silver lining to all of this happening. Like I wish that I still had my old fridge, but I don't. But at least I hadn't spent like $200-300 on fresh, cold, and frozen food that would have just ended up in the trash. Um, so that was like kind of like a little, yeah, a little funny thing that happened. But if I told somebody else that this happened, and like that I felt like that there was like a strong connection, like a lot of people would say like brush it off, like that's nothing, like that one thing had nothing to do with the other thing. Um, and then today I was sitting outside just by myself while it was starting to drizzle, and I've gotten multiple messages about how like I should be working with water and I should be connecting with water more. And I don't have hot water in my house right now, so I have like very fast showers where I heat up like a bucket of water to get clean. So I haven't been having my like nightly kind of meditative time like in the hot water like shower. And so I'm trying to think of like other ways to kind of connect to water. So I went in the lake the other day, but it was like too hectic with all these kids splashing and all that. So it started to rain, and I thought like, forget it. Like I'm just going to go out in the rain. And so while it was drizzling, I was noticing there was like this patch of clouds over the back of my woods, and it was taking on the shape of a face, like next to like a dark cross. Like, so there were dark storm clouds, and it formed like this little cross in the air. And as I'm watching it, it was like this face like seemed to kind of like come into focus as the clouds are moving, and it looked like the face of Jesus. And I'm starting to look around. I'm like, where's my phone? I'm going to take a picture of this, and like realizing that like I left my phone inside, like on the other side of my home. And as I kept watching, the face kind of like morphed into a profile view of Jesus. Like it looked just like the side of him, like when you see them in like kind of like religious art. And then like clouds kept moving, and there like for a couple minutes there wasn't really anything that I was seeing. And then again it came into like looking like a image of Jesus's face in the clouds, except it was like kind of like from a different perspective, like almost like it was like seen from like farther away. It wasn't like as zoomed in looking. And I was like, oh my God, like this is wild. And so I ended up like running inside at that point when there was like a break and I wasn't seeing anything anymore. And I was like, I'm gonna have my phone on me, and just in case something else shows up. And of course there wasn't really anything there. There was kind of like some strange looking clouds, like some that like look like waves. And again, I went outside to sit in the drizzly, rainy kind of weather because I wanted to connect with the water. And so seeing this wave formation pattern in the clouds is pretty wild. And again, somebody else would just say, oh, that's a natural wave formation in clouds. Like it doesn't mean anything. But I thought like, but it means something to me. And I haven't had any kind of contact or communication with Jesus in a while. And so I thought like, well, like, what does this mean? Why is he back? Is there some kind of message that I should be receiving from him? And so when I came back inside my house, I just went to, I have like a red letter Bible here. It's called like the Jesus centered Bible. And so you can quickly just flip through the pages and see wherever Jesus is mentioned, or like parts where he's talking, and you can kind of skip just to things that are relevant to him and not read the rest of the Bible, which is what I typically do. And so I quickly just like flipped through the back of the Bible where like most of like the New Testament is, until I saw like just some pages with red text. And then I decided to read like the first red text that my eyes fell upon. And it was completely relevant to what had happened today, like when I was outside in the kind of like rainy weather. And so this is from John 1:50. At this point in the Bible, Jesus is talking to Nathaniel, and Nathaniel said, like, how do you know me, to Jesus? And Jesus said, I could see you under the fig tree before Philip found you. And Jesus asked him, do you believe this? Just because I told you I had seen you under the fig tree, you will see greater things in this. Like almost saying like he prophesied seeing this follower or this person. And he's saying, you'll see greater things in this. And then Jesus continued, I tell you the truth, you will all see heaven open and the angels of God going up and down on the Son of Man, the one who is the stairway between heaven and earth. So just the fact that I flipped to this like random little segment of the Bible, and it was talking about seeing like heaven open, and that's exactly like what I had just been doing outside tonight. I had just sat and like looked up at the clouds that like had like little breaks in them and like little formations and like the density of the clouds, and it was like seeing heaven open up, and like Jesus's face was there. And the fact that I just opened the Bible and that's what it came to is wild. It's just completely personal. It's not meant to be proven to anybody else. It's not, contact is just not meant for others. It's meant to impact you, the person that is experiencing it. And so I guess, yeah, I'll just leave on that kind of note. So I'm going to be thinking about this and just thinking about like how, in my particular position, that like I had this message come through today that like Jesus is with me, and he's up in the clouds above, he's in heaven, but obviously he's around everywhere. But for others that might be watching this that are having like these kind of like little synchronicities and little moments and like strong intuitive hits, and then those hits come true, I know that it can be very exciting to tell other people about it and to say like, you'll never believe this crazy thing that happened to me, but then people just don't really believe it, and it's kind of like disheartening and let down. I wanted to just, I guess, say that it doesn't have to be a letdown. You don't even have to tell anybody about it if you think that like this is small enough that nobody will believe me or people will think it doesn't matter. Like, then you just keep it to yourself and realize that like it does matter, and it was meant to matter to you, and it was meant to affect you and kind of change the way that you think and change the way that you behave. And it's all just kind of part of this crazy kind of existence of being an experiencer. Yeah, so if you've had any kind of like small things that have happened in your life recently that like if you told an average regular person who doesn't have contact, like you think they wouldn't believe, but you think it's worth mentioning, like I'd like to hear about it. So thank you so much for listening today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.